Good morning, everybody. Shane McCusker here, Intelligent Software. Join my colleague Via Strauss. Today we're going to talk about recruitment software and how to decide what will work best for you. As you know, we're a provider and vendor and designer of recruitment software. Today, though, isn't really about our products. It's more about the concept of a recruitment agency wanting to improve what they do, looking at software to do it. This is going to be a massively vendor-neutral presentation. And that's fine. We would actively encourage people to look around at us and other people, really to educate yourselves and to see what is going to work best for you. But what we do want to do is, a lot of the time we have people coming to us as a first port of call. They want to see what we do. That looks great. I want to buy it, but you haven't really put the thought or the thought into working out just what you want to do. And so we're running this webinar really to try and get people to look at the real reasons you want to implement change within your business, really get into grips with it, because if we get people that come to us and they've got a real solid understanding as to what they want to do, how they're going to do it, it just works so much better and they get so much more out of it. We find that, you know, if customers come to us wanting to buy software and we think they're not quite ready for it yet, or they just haven't grasped the full extent of what they're getting involved with, then it's to their detriment in the long run. And if we can encourage people to think more about what you're doing as early as possible, it just works so much better for everybody, really, in the system. Oh, sorry, 2 seconds. My Preci's on AWOL here. Let me just go back here. There we're now. Okay, so slide number 1. I want to talk a little bit about the benefits and disadvantages of software, and to just really explain where we're coming from on this and what can be done. There's a whole raft of them. Let's talk about the benefits first of all. There's a lot of people come to us really from the premise of, I just want to cut out the admin. I want a software system that's going to, you know, do the admin stuff and do the really basic stuff. Or we've got people coming along to us saying, I just want a system that's really, really simple. What they actually mean by that is, I want a system that's really simple to use, but they don't necessarily want a simple system. My analogy is Google. Google is a wonderfully simple system in terms of you've only got one thing to type into and you press search and it goes off and searches stuff. But underneath that is a massively complex piece of software. And so what you're actually talking about is you want something that makes your life easier. You want to be more efficient in the way that you work. But to do that is actually quite complicated. I'm really struggling here with my screen. There we go. Okay, there we are now. So efficiency. I mean, the sort of stuff we're talking about here is we're trying to automate administrative tasks, whether it be registering candidates through your website, whether it be, most of those sort of things are working. Registering candidates through your website, formatting CVs, mail merges, job postings. These are tasks that just take up a bit of time. They're not core to the making placements type of stuff, and software fits in quite nicely in there. You know, you can record stuff and press buttons and things happen automatically, and it just sort of works well for you. To my mind, I never really was that fussed about efficiency as being the decision maker. I know a lot of our customers come along and it's the most important thing to them is to say, okay, I've got admin time here and it's detracting from my recruiting time. But ultimately, I think you're only ever going to improve it by maybe, you know, free up an extra couple of hours a week of everybody's time, and a couple of hours a week isn't really going to set the world on fire in terms of an increase to your bottom line. It just means that people leave a little bit earlier on a Friday afternoon. So what we actually want to get people thinking about is not so much efficiency, but effectiveness. And effectiveness means working in a different way, doing something different that just works. And what does that mean? It means that, you know, a lot of the stuff, the reason that we called our product intelligence was to try and, you know, apply a bit of cleverness to the whole process. And so things like computers are really good at relating information, and it enables you to get more value out of it. And if you can say, for example, one of the things that we started off way back when I was running a recruitment agency was one of the things we asked all our candidates, we wrote to them and asked them to give us referees' details. And the reason we did that wasn't to do reference checks on people. It was so that we could network through their organizations. Now, this is way back 10 years ago, before LinkedIn, before social media. But once we developed this person and the networks that they related to, then you go, well, hold on, I need a tool that'll manage this. And a piece of software jumped in and filled that gap, so that, it's a piece of software can relate information in a way that you have no other mechanism to do it. You can't do it with a filing cabinet. You can't do it with an Excel spreadsheet. Those sort of Excel spreadsheets, filing cabinet, electronic filing cabinets, for want of a better word, store information, but they don't do very much with it. It just is a repository for you to go and find somebody's CV, and it's exactly where you left it. But what we're actually more interested in is just doing something really simple where we say, well, we've got all your information, and not only that, we can help you spot the opportunities that are there, so that you just know that, well, this is a company will appear on your radar saying, well, this is a company, we've got a lot of people applying that work there and we don't know who they are. Well, maybe we can do business there. Maybe we can get more people from them, or maybe we can backfill some of the positions from the tranche of people that are leaving there right now. Or can it relate to other information out on the internet? One of the big things that we've been working on over the last period of time is looking at ways of managing information in its totality, not just internal information, but everything on the internet and everywhere else. And it's about relating stuff, so that if you're looking at a person, you can see their Twitter stream, or you can see their LinkedIn profile, or you can take advantage of the wealth of information that's there. Have you got anything to add to that, Virpil?
Yeah, I mean, you were talking about efficiency. Like most people would come to us looking for, they're looking to solve a problem. Like you mentioned, I'm looking to cut down admin time. I'm looking to add CVs quicker. I'm looking to do whatever. What would you say? I mean, what needs to happen? Or what's the changes that needs to happen within an organization? Just a question here, to get people to shift their mindset from, I'm looking to solve this little small problem, that's why I want to throw some money at it and solve it, instead of looking at the bigger picture and say, okay, well, getting candidates on the system quicker might be the initial problem I wanted to solve, but that there's better things that I can do with a solution like this. What do you think is the events or things that triggers that mindset of changing people from being in problem-solving mode to doing things in better mode?
To grasping hold of opportunities mode? Yeah, well, absolutely. I mean, you've just reflected sort of what I was trying to say, was that you're quite right. A lot of people come to us because the fact their staff are giving them a hard time. We can't work this way anymore. We need a solution. And it tends to be a case where they're being pushed into it. Whereas what we'd really like to see people doing is saying, I want to run my business in a better way. What's stopping me making more money? What is holding me back? Or where are the opportunities I can grasp hold of? And that's once we get into that mindset of, rather than being pushed into it, you're leading the charge and being proactive about how you want to run your business, then we're engaging in a much more interesting conversation, much more exciting conversation, because the difference between efficiency and effectiveness is that if we get efficiency really good, if we make what you do right now more efficient, we're only going to increase your profitability or your sales by maybe 10-20%. I mean, that's as much as we can do in terms of time saving, in terms of removing the admin stuff. If, on the other hand, we focus on effectiveness, we say recruitment is a really inefficient process. If we can make the process more efficient, we can double your sales. We can treble your sales. You can't treble your sales by making you more efficient. That just isn't going to happen. But you can by introducing different ways of working. And that's when it gets exciting. That's when we see customers really changing the way that they want to operate. But it's much more than just software. In fact, it's not even software. The thing that makes a difference is the change in your processes, the change in the way you want to work, and the software just facilitates that different way of working. Does that make sense?
I think, I would agree with that 100%. I think there's no better facilitator for change within recruitment than buying new software and seeing, reevaluating your process and see how a software system can assist you in that. And I think once you start looking at the software, the opposite effect of that is start looking at your process, and that's when things start to change. So I think buying software is a great facilitator for process change and evaluating processes.
Okay. Third on my list is scalability. What does that mean? Well, most recruitment companies tend to be small organizations. That's just it is. I don't know why that is, because you would think that two recruiters could work more effectively than one, in that you know more people, and therefore there's more opportunities for mixing and matching candidates with clients. But for some strange reason, recruitment agencies get to 4 or 5 people and then they sort of stop to grow. And my theory on this is it's all to do with information management, because as soon as you get more than 4 or 5 people, they can't all sit in one room. And as soon as they stop being able to sit in one room, then the communication channels break down between them, then the vacancy that I have doesn't filter its way onto the desk of the 6th person in the office, and therefore they don't have the opportunity to say, stop everything, I know the perfect candidate. If you've got good information, good information management, a good system, then you can coordinate staff better. You can share information better. You can take advantage of the scale and the fact that you've now got 100,000 people that you can access, but you've got a mechanism whereby you can quickly get visibility of just the people within that 100,000 that are going to help you make this placement. And that's where the skill comes in, because in actual fact, if you're a one-man band recruiter, you're not a one-man band recruiter at all, if you've got any sense about it, because as soon as you get a vacancy on board, you contact 20 or 30 people that you know, and they are your workforce to try and recommend somebody to you or suggest somebody to you. And so with a good information management system, you can scale up both your primary workforce, the consultants from your business, and your secondary workforce, your referral network that you work through. One of the things that we did a long time ago, we were working with a company who really bought into a lot of these ideas, and within a very short space of time, I'm talking about a few weeks, they reported that they had made an extra 3 placements per consultant per month as a result of implementing intelligence, but it wasn't really implementing intelligence, it was implementing just better work practices that they were able to do because they implemented intelligence. And when we went back to them and queried them on that, because it's a fairly staggering statistic, one, they were able to tell us who they'd actually placed and how they managed to find those people through just visibility of knowing what was going on, getting their finger on the pulse. But the thing that they said was the biggest differentiator was that their managers were able to get an understanding as to who was doing what and how they were doing it, spotting opportunities, spotting who was good at things, and it just enables you to get much more visibility of what's going on internally, externally, everywhere in your organization. One of the other things that is key to this, however, is that within any recruitment organization, once you have 2 or 3 or 4 people involved in it, you'll tend to find you've got some people that are really good, and you'll tend to find you've got some people who are just into the industry and don't have the experience of the experts, and they don't make as many placements. And it's not because of lack of effort. You know, they make lots of phone calls. They maybe make more phone calls than your superstar recruiters. So recruitment isn't about working harder. Good recruiters don't make more calls than bad recruiters. You know, that's not the secret of success. The secret of success is good recruiters do something different that just works better. And if you've got a system in place, then you can instill best practice and you can measure to see if it's actually being done. And if it's not being done, you can report on it, exception report on it, say, hold on, you missed this opportunity. I mean, one of the things that we do with an intelligence, and this isn't unique to us, although it's reasonably unique to us, is that whenever you create a short list of people for a job, it goes and looks at their details to try and find out, right, which of those people has some sort of relationship with the company that you're recruiting for, and immediately flags that up to you. So rather than starting alphabetically at the start of the list and working where you're doing it, you can go first to the people that have either worked there before, have been interviewed there before, have had their CV sent there before, know somebody who works there, some relationship, because they're the ones who are going to give you inside information. They're the ones that are going to be most applicable to that particular search for that organization. And it's just about trying to extract more value from what you know and highlight those opportunities. Virpay, you described that once as a metal detector. Which is a comment I've been using ever since.
Yeah, it was. I mean, that's what software does for you. It's that huge memory of the machine that you can take advantage of, and whenever there's a need for a piece of information that you wouldn't otherwise have gotten, you know, a good system should pick that up for you when you are looking for it and display it in a clever way so you can take advantage of it.
Sure. Okay. Benefit number 4 is profitability. and there's only one thing that happens, and it's making more placements. If anybody's got anything more to add to that, please let me know, but I've been thinking about it. And, if you want to make a change within your business, the metric of success or failure is, does it make more placements? I mean, we looked at it from the point of view of, can you make the same number of placements in a shorter time and have a better quality of life? And that might be applicable to some people, but ultimately it's about making more placements. And if you can make more placements in the resource of effort that is available to you, then that's what you want to do. So people that come along and look at software systems and get bamboozled by salespeople, or just have this notion of saying, I want to do this one basic task, or looking from a cost point of view, which I'll talk about in a second, is that the bottom line is, will it make you more placements? And I'll tell you something else. If you go along and talk to any vendor, put that to them. How many more placements is this going to make me? And show me how it's going to make me more placements. And it should not be difficult to look at a system and be able to determine how many more placements it's going to make you. As a vague ballpark, and this varies dramatically from one business to another, we would approach customers and like to look at a ratio of making an extra 3 placements per annum per consultant. And if we can do that, then the cost is blown out of the water in terms of, return on investment is 10 or 20 times the cost. And we can demonstrate how that happens. We can say, okay, this and this is here are methods of working that will facilitate that change and that improvement. So focus. This is the one thing I want people to focus on, is when you're looking at a new system or looking at a change in your business, will it make you more placements? If the answer is yes, it's good. If the answer is no, or maybe it's not so good. Okay, so those are my benefits, and let's look at the disadvantages, unless you've got something more to add, Vip, here.
No, you can continue.
Okay, disadvantages. Really important that we look at this, because the sort of software system that we sell isn't applicable to everybody. And there's lots of people out there, whether it's, it may not be applicable for you right at this moment in time. It may be applicable in 6 months' time. It may, you may be not wanting to facilitate change right now, or you're just starting up. If you don't have information there, how useful the information management system is questionable, although there are reasons you may want to do that. So let's look at the first one, cost. And I've written down a few things here. You will have gauged from my previous comments about making more placements that I tend to be reluctant to talk about cost and much rather talk about return on investment. And if you've got a system, it should be making multiple additional placements for you. Any recruitment system, I don't care what cost it is, the most expensive systems in the market, which are quite pricey, should be giving you a return of an order of magnitude more than the cost in terms of placements. If they're not doing that, go back to your vendor and say, it ain't working for me, and either let them solve the problem or exit. Because if your current system isn't doing that for you, then that should be a real highlight, saying we need a system that is going to give us a return on investment an order of magnitude more than the cost, making us significantly more wealthy than we otherwise would be. I was taking part in an online debate recently where somebody posted, it was a LinkedIn forum actually, somebody posted up saying, should we go with a free system? Because there are systems on the market that are free, whether they're being called a filing cabinet or an Excel spreadsheet. Most of our people coming to us don't use anything complicated. They use Excel spreadsheets and Outlook and things like that, and it sort of works for them. But it's not a free system. There's a cost to that. There are some vendors out there who'll say, okay, for the first license, it's in minimal cost or even a zero cost. But as soon as you go to multiple licenses, then they start charging you. And not only that, they turn around and say, well, you can't have your data back. All the data's on the system and you can't extract it. And they sort of tie people in that way. But even then, there are free systems out there which you can use very effectively, albeit that they're not free, because the big cost associated with any system isn't the amount of money you spend to a vendor. It's the work that you put in to gear it around the way you want to work. So you need to think about the totality of the investment, whether it be your time, whether it be costs direct costs or indirect costs for training or whatever else. And you need to think about all the other aspects that are going into it. Time and opportunity costs. Virpa, have you got anything more to say about those issues? I know you were talking about pricing earlier on. Hello, Virpa?
Oh, sorry. It'll help if I unmute the thing. Normally when you look at the way vendors charge, there's normally probably two types of pricing model, which the one is an ongoing fee, and the other one would be a much larger once-off fee. And I think whenever you are looking at software or deciding on a package, I think both of those pricing options does offer some benefits and some disadvantages. So depending on what you want, I mean, if you want to pay a once-off amount of money and you get a software system basically as is and that's yours and you own it, and it'll probably do you well for a couple of years, and you're happy enough with that to change later again when the vendor might not be around, then that's a good option as well. The ongoing pricing option does have the benefit that you get that upgrades on a regular basis and that there's constant innovation, which is one of the models that I personally prefer. But also things, I mean, what do you think of what must be included in cost? If you look at, I mean, you look at training, support, upgrades, is there anything that you would say is must-have people should look at whenever they do pay for something? Training included?
I'll go back to it's the return on investment, and there's a whole package here. It's not just software; it's the training and the consultancy and the people that you're dealing with, and it's forming a partnership.
Because a lot of the times there's hidden costs in it. When someone, whenever you buy a system, there's always costs on top of that. There's, sometimes there's training, sometimes there's more training. There's flights, accommodation, and things that adds up. So.
Yes, despite my efforts to try and turn our products into a commodity rather than a service, we're still very much based on a service model whereby it's really helping companies deliver the return on investment, and that's the market is looking for, so that's what we deliver. Okay, let's look at learning curve. This is one of the things we just wanted to try and manage expectations here. Change takes time, and the thing that takes most time is planning on how you want to use a system, because software, you can't just buy it and, well, you can just buy it and use it, and certainly any software system needs to give an immediate return on investment. You need to immediately see the benefit of it. But the thing is that, in a week's time, you'll get more out of it, and a month's time you'll get more, in 6 months' time you'll get more, in a year's time you'll get more out of it, because you've got more information there, you're using it more effectively, the change within your organization takes time. So to really manage expectations on this, you need to commit to a long-term process of working with a piece of technology or working with a system and really get good at it, because you'll say to yourself, well, we've got this idea, we think if we do this, this, and this, we're going to get much better quality candidates. And you're going to adopt your strategy, and you're going to implement it, you're going to put the tools around the processes, and then you're going to see if it works. And then it probably won't work in the way you envisaged it. Maybe it works better, maybe it works worse. So you improve upon the process, you tweak it, you learn from it, and so it develops. It's a process of iteration. And that's what we're doing here. So it's not just about buying software, it's about adopting change in your organization. And then the final disadvantage, I suppose, is about risk of failure. And this does happen. Systems fail, and they fail for one reason, predominantly, which is poor planning. And it's the whole change management process takes a bit of thought. I wrote a blog article about it a little while ago, really talking about why are recruiters so bad at managing change in their organization. And my thought on this is that recruitment is quite a repetitive type of process, in that you arrive in the morning, you've got vacancies to work on, you've got candidates to interview and put out there, and one day is not massively different to another day. So it's a process that you tweak from time to time, and the process goes on. Implementing a piece of software or changing your business isn't like that. It's a one-off process. It's a longer process. It takes maybe days, weeks, months, years to implement. And recruiters don't really do that on a day-to-day basis. It's not like a construction project where you're building a building and there's lots of things happening to complete the project. Project management doesn't happen within a recruitment environment in the same way. But whenever you're implementing change within your organization, it's a complex process. There's lots of different things that go on there, and you need to consider all these. And if you don't consider all these, then you're setting yourself up for a fall. But we'll talk a little bit about that too. So if those are the reasons that it doesn't succeed, what are the reasons for success? These are a few points that I've noted. The customers that come on board with us and do really well and get lots of value out of implementing change, invariably the process is driven by management. And so the managers have a clear understanding as to what they want to achieve, and they can drive it through, and they monitor it, and they see what's going on and tweak it, and are really involved, heavily involved in, simple things like, we've got a new system, right? What is our candidate registration process going to look like now? What way are we going to send information on to clients? How do we search and find people? How do we want to do that? What's going to work effectively? And then looking at the process, saying, how can we make that better? And measuring it and monitoring it. Exception reporting. If we don't categorize somebody properly whenever they register with us, how do we spot that? If somebody is working for an organization that we don't know, how can we bring that to attention of the business development team? And these sort of real operational details, you need to look at them and understand them and say, right, how can we improve it? Change happens in all areas of your business, so it needs to be managed in all areas of your business. And a lot of people, think of a software system as something that is in isolation, almost like the cherry on top of the cake. It's not. It's the cake. The software system is the cake tin. You can't make your cake without the software system. It's a backbone. So whenever you change the backbone of your organization, it affects every aspect of your organization. And I don't care how how far it is away from what you would consider an information management system. Your marketing strategy, your website, your perception in the marketplace, the way you interact with candidates, the way you interact with clients, all these things hinge upon your relationship with your information management system. And the other thing that I think is absolutely critical and key to succeeding is getting positive attitude within your organization from all your staff. If you've got positive attitude in your staff, it will work. If you don't, it will not. Okay, you've got some people that are going to be resistant to change. That can be managed, but you need a net positive drive from your staff. And, if that happens and people can see the benefit of what you're doing and the benefit of changing and really buy into that benefit, then you've got creativity, you've got positivity, you've got people working for you. And it is one of the things that we really try and do as early as possible is get buy-in engagement from all levels of your staff, from somebody who's been working with you temporary for a week's basis to the senior management to your long-term consultants. Everybody needs to get clarity on the benefit that you're trying to bring to it, because once you focus in on the benefit, then things start to happen and things start to work. Anything more to add to that, Vipia?
Yes, I think, Shane, that last point you mentioned there, that's probably the most crucial of them all, is getting users to buy into it. It's that adoption rate, and I think normally what we've seen is adoption rate and getting people to buy into the software and use it kind of, for me, ranks higher than functionality. To get people to buy into it and start using it, right from the get-go is very, very crucial to the success of the project. And you get that by involving your staff in having them sit in the product presentations, having them involved in in the speccing of the needs process. So involving the staff from day one is one of the ways to get buy-in from them right from the start.
Okay, so this is the plan that we sort of follow, and I think it's a good plan for us or for anybody else. There are 4 key areas that we want to see people considering whenever you're approaching this change process. And the first one is probably the biggest one, which is the processes and procedures. And that's everything. That's looking at the detail. That's saying, okay, now that we've, you don't buy a new system to work the same way. You buy a new system to facilitate a new way of working. If you don't want to change the way of working, then reappraise what you're doing right now. In that, if you're gonna go to this amount of effort, I'm saying effort rather than cost. If you're going to this amount of effort, then you need to really get as much benefit out of it as possible. So think about the processes. This isn't complicated. This is just simple stuff. This is, okay, how do we deal with candidates? How do we deal with clients? How do we do business development? How do we get new candidates on board? How do we get better candidates? How do we make the process work more effectively, more efficiently? Look at all the different areas of it and really get those tied down. Ideally, write a procedures manual. Now, there's a balance here in that, you could write a procedures manual and 6 months later you could emerge from a darkened room. You wouldn't have made any placements in the last 6 months and your procedures manual may not be that operationally effective. So, I'm not talking about spending months working on this, but I am talking about spending days working on it so that you go through and you analyze every area of your business. The bigger the organization you are, the more complex it tends to be. But that's because you've got more people to consider and more processes to consider. Where you are and where you're going, this is more about, not so much the processes and procedures is where you want to get to, but how are you going to get from where you are? So you've got some legacy system, you've got data there. So you need to work out how do we migrate data from one system to another system? You've got people out of a skill set. How do we train people and get the people skills migrated over? Think of your strategies, think of the goals within your organization, think of all the different areas within your organization that need to be changed in some way, shape or form. And then you need a roadmap to say, right, this is where we're and this is where we're going. Again, I mean, I don't want to say spend months planning this because that's not applicable, but where we have a problem is when people don't have any consideration of this change process and assume that it's just going to happen and it's just going to work, because if that's your assumption, you're setting yourself up for a fall. Consulting, training and support. This is a combination thing between vendor and yourselves, in the sense that some vendors offer simple training. Other vendors merge that into a consultation role. So, I mean, for our own point of view, we'll get into quite in-depth, detailed discussions about procedures, how you want to operate, and really try and help people achieve this. We want to make an extra 3, 4, 5 placements per consultant per year. Now, how are we going to do that? And get into the recruitment detail. It's not about anybody can train you. You press this button and this is what happens. An operation, that's pretty basic, and we can do most of that through video or whatever else, but or one-to-one training sessions or whatever it happens to be. But consultation is something different. That consultation isn't about software systems, it's about what you want to do with the tool and how you want to get it to work for you. And finally, my point number 4, and I reluctantly add this in as technology. The reason I reluctantly add it in is because not infrequently the opening gambit from a brand new person that we've never heard of will ask a question about what technology do you support, or some IT question. Now, if you're going to approach software from your IT department's perspective, you're setting yourself up for a fall. You're putting the cart before the horse, in that whilst technology is there to facilitate what you do is not there to facilitate technology. So whilst technology is important, virtually any vendor can work any way you want to, whether it's economically viable for them or not. But I mean, if you operate one person working from a laptop, if you operate 12 offices in parts of the world that don't have internet connectivity, you can set up systems that will provide an information management infrastructure. But this should be the final thing you consider, because it really is about saying to a vendor, you're the vendor, you sort out the technology and let them run with it. It's not really something that clients should be dealing with overly. Whatever you do, don't delegate the choice of your software to your IT department, because they will make life easy for themselves, and that will have no relevance to the benefit to you of actually implementing a software system. Okay, key points And this is probably the big takeaway from this webinar. If you take anything away, please take away these 5 points. This is what I think a purchaser or a recruitment manager should be going down this process when you're engaging in the process of buying a new software system. Number one, establish goals. Work out what it is you want to achieve. And my advice on this one is it's all about making more placements. Okay? You might want to say to yourself it's about making more placements, but how are we going to do that? Within the market that we operate, if we get better candidates, we'll make more placements. Or if we can network more effectively, if we get passive job seekers, or if we can just get volume, or we can create a brand presence. Whatever it happens to be, establish the goal that you want to achieve or goals that you want to achieve. Point number 2 is educate yourself. Myself and VIP were talking earlier on, if you want to come back on this one, VIP. I think both of us are of the opinion that you should shop around, look to see what's out there, talk to multiple vendors, and as a vendor ourselves, we're not happy to have competitors in the sense that we like to make sales all over the place, but we do like competitors in the sense that they're very good at educating our marketplace in terms of what's available, what's not available, what you can expect. We would call it management of expectations. But from a purchaser's point of view, you really need to go out there and have a look at it. And you want to do it from an open mind perspective, in that you don't want to go and say, I want to do this, this, and this, and have a closed mind as to what you want to achieve. You want to go out and put the problems in front of the vendors and let the vendors solve them. So I know, VIP, we were talking yesterday about, a potential wish list of things and how you would approach it. And my attitude was much more general than yours was, in that my thought on it is that you should be saying, okay, I want to make more placements, throw that problem to the vendor and let the vendor come back to you and say how you're going to solve it without being too specific about it, and let them educate you.
I think, for me, this process would probably be the educate is just go around and kick some tires. I think the first round should always be, and this is what I call, show me what you've got presentations. So whenever you get into it, it's just show me what you've got, and then you evaluate things like look and feel. You see how the software the system sits with you, and just have a look at as many as you can find, and start narrowing them down. And that's when you start focusing on, okay, these are the problems I want to solve. Now I'm going to start looking at specifics, and then once you have that list, start going into a scenario-based presentation, where you tell the vendor, listen, this is what I want to do, show me how that looks on your system, and then you can see the exact workflow to see if that fits in with the way you work. Because like Shane said earlier, most of the systems, they all do the same thing, but getting to the end result is dramatically different, and I think there's where the difference lies within selecting a software system. So my advice on the educating yourself bit will be just to go out and view as many, show me what you've got presentations as what you can, and then start filtering them out from there.
Absolutely. Develop positive attitude. Again, we mentioned this earlier on. The purchasing process, the more people in your organization you involve in this, and there's a balance here in terms of managing your staff, in that you can spend an awful lot of time having conversations without making decisions. But you can use the evaluation process really to get your staff involved and buying into the benefits of a change within your organization. Getting your staff involved will enable you to view the problems that you're going to get. People are wonderfully creative whenever you challenge them to come up with ideas or problems and the reasons that things won't work. Just ask people, why do you think this won't work? And they will, within 30 seconds, give you 5 or 6 reasons for it, which can be seen as quite a negative process. And so it is, unless you ask the question, and what are the positives out of that? And then they'll give you 5 or 6 positive reasons. So it's quite useful to get as many people on board as possible. Plan every detail. This is where we want people to get involved in the minutiae of looking at it in depth. You'll come out of this thinking, okay, well, these are our must-haves, these are our ideals, this is our wonderful scenario. Maybe there's a compromise along the way, as there is with most change management processes. Maybe you can't do everything in one go, but if you plan every detail, at least you'll get an understanding as to what you're trying to achieve, what's doable within a time frame. And then the last bit is to manage the process. Change management is complex. It's not for a software company or a vendor to come in and manage your team of people. It's not for a vendor to come in and manage the process. They can't do it. It can't be done. It's up to you to positively manage the change process. Give yourself a good amount of time to do this. I'm talking to months to go through it. If not, to be perfectly honest, it's not even months. It's an ongoing, continual process of developing your business. And that's about it from us today. As far as I know, this is who we are, Intelligent Software, intel-sw.com. We sell a wonderful suite of recruitment software and all sorts of other bits and pieces. If you want to find out what we do, by all means, give us a call. We'll do presentations for you to show you what it is that we do. By all means, go and have a look at other vendors as well. Weigh up what you're doing, see where you're going. The bottom line is this: if you get it right, you will just make life so much easier for yourself. You'll just make so many more placements, and that's pretty well guaranteed because we don't tie people into contracts. So our customers, if they're with us, the system will be working for them. And it really does work. It really makes a massive change to your organization for the better. And it's a very exciting process if you can get it right. It's a bit of a challenge, but it's an exciting challenge, and it's got massive rewards at the end of it. And we'd really encourage people to think about where you are, think about improving your business, because it's just a wonderful, exciting process to be involved in. Anything more to add there, VPL?
No, it is exactly like you said. It is a very exciting process, and probably one of the biggest decisions you'll make as a business owner or as a company is deciding which recruitment system or technology you're going to go with. And it is quite an important one. It is and it's a serious decision.
Wonderful. Thank you all for your time. Keep an eye on the other webinars and stuff we do, and we look forward to hearing from anybody and everybody. Any questions, please get in touch. Thank you very much for your time.
And again, Shane, just a reminder for those of you that's in and around Joburg, Wednesday, which is tomorrow, 5 o'clock at the Hyde Park Southern Sun, the Whiskey and Cigar Lounge. Come along and come meet us. There's going to be probably about 40, 50 recruitment consultants there, so you're more than welcome to come and join us.
Thank you for your time.